Unique. We're all said to be unique in our own special way. But what if that special way that you are considered to be unique isn't something that's widely accepted throughout society? Today, we're going to have a great conversation and talk with my cousin, my family, my loved one, someone that I'm really closely connected with. We grew up together and discuss what it's like growing up as a unique person in the times in which they were in back when he was growing up. So let's get this word. Welcome to the Word to Be Heard podcast. I'm your host, Mario Johnson. And like I said, today, got a really special podcast for you guys. Got a really special guest on. Someone that, again, I grew up with, someone that love deeply, dearly, and someone who can definitely be classified as unique. Um, I want to welcome to the podcast again, Shaka Y'all, also known as Stacy McBee. What's going on, Cuzzo?
Hey, what's up? I'm chilling. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm glad to finally catch up with you. Like it's been a long time since we've become adults. We kind of follow each other on social media and everything, and we have exchange messages back and forth, but we never really caught up. Like this is literally our first time having like setting aside an actual block of time to truly just catch up. Talk about I'm gonna put that out there. For everybody who watches my podcast, I don't. I like our conversation to be organic. I don't kind of give away. I don't have like talking points or anything like that because I want us to truly just talk. I want everything to come from the heart. I want it all to come, off the dome, as they like to say. And I don't like for it to be scripted. So, of course, you already know. You basically just got a general overview of what I wanted us to talk about and how I wanted us to reconnect. But honestly, I kind of wanted to have that conversation of what it was like growing up, being considered different, being understanding that, you know, something just doesn't seem right. What society says you should be, who society says you should be, you kind of didn't, fit into that mold. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't, it was just a complete 180. So I wanted to kind of have that conversation with you, find out what it was like growing up, under that type of, I don't want to call it pressure, but growing up in that type of situation. And also, like, how does the world see you and how do you see the world? Like, I want to get your perspective on everything. I want to get the whole story, man. Tell me everything. That's kind of what I wanted to catch up on. Um, so welcome, man. If you want to do a quick introduction, kind of give a little background or anything like that, or you just want to jump into the weeds, let me know, how you want to do this.
Oh man, first off, I thank you for catching up with me after all this time because we haven't, like you said, we always see each other online, but we never really have a chance to talk to each other as family and like in this close proximity. So I'm thankful for being able to talk to you and tell you about how I grew up and how everything affected me and how I feel to this day. So thank you for that. That's number one. But my introduction now, of course, I'm still I go by Shaka and Stacy is now like my transitional name, like, and it changes over years and time. But like right now, I'm in this like state of like embracing my femininity and understanding that and like celebrating it and not being in fear of it, And it took me a long time to get to that point. So that's why I go by Stacy now. It's kind of like an inspiration to where I'm going now in my future. Um, but yeah, I'm from the South, as you know. We both from the South. And moving to New York at like such a young age and like I guess going through like real experiences that I never had a chance to go through when I was back home in the South, not being sheltered and being on my own here,
Mm.
it really woke me up to who I really wanted to be and not caring, and not like
Mm.
feeling bad about celebrating who I was. But when I
Right.
was younger, as you know, it was it was just like a secret of mine, if
Yeah,
that
I was
makes
about
sense.
to say, like, we all kind of had an idea. We all kind of knew, but we never actually really like talked about it.
The whole family definitely knew. The
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
family definitely knew. So it was like,
Uh, well,
it's
let me
funny.
ask a question. So, and when we say we're from the South, we all grew up in Alabama. You know,
Ah,
we all everybody, all of us is from Alabama. So we're from the South South, like the deep
that's
South.
the dirty style.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So going over, and we're going to kind of jump around a little bit in the timeline, and that is what it is. But when you transition to New York, was that going there? Was that, I guess, want to say, was that environment more accepting of who you were? Like, did you kind
Mhm.
of find that there were a lot more people represented in that particular community versus kind of like how it was in Alabama? You know, like, were you able to? I guess I want to say, were you able to be more you? You know, were you able to be more expressive going to New York versus being in Alabama?
You know what's funny? When I was in Alabama, I never really excuse me. Oh, I got gas all day. I'm sorry. I'm right or something. I don't even remember. Um, but back in Alabama, I was so discreet about my sexual lifestyle and like who I felt I was, like being gay, quote unquote. I was so scared to ever allow myself to be feminine and like to let a weak side be shown because I knew that like they were so close-minded to that and it was like very much religious. You know how we grew up. By the way, world, we grew up as Jehovah's Witnesses, so it was that was all I knew. So being like gay and proud was not an option. So Alabama, I could not live my life the way I wanted to. But when I moved to New York, it was a breath of fresh air. First of all, because I was super young, and as soon as I remember, I'll never forget. As soon as I got here, I was like, I'm going to do whatever I want to do. And
Mm,
I don't care, like, cause my mom isn't here, my cousin isn't here, my father isn't here. Boom, boom, boom. No one sees it. I can do it, you know. So it was like a dream come true. But it was still adversity there. Excuse me, still adversity in New York around 2004 when I moved here, and that wasn't. It was a little bit of a surprise, but I guess what I noticed about New Yorkers or the New York vibe in 2004 is that if you weren't confident with who you were,
hmm
it was questionable. And I thought I was confident when I first moved here, but I still had some work to do in figuring out my identity. So with that being said, I still faced problems because I wasn't confident or sure of who I was. So New York was still great, but I still feel like it was a little bit of challenges that I had
hmm
to face in my personal life.
Right. Now,
So what?
when you say you faced those challenges, was that coming from the people there? Because I know they say, like, in New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. Because New York is one of the most cutthroat places in the world for the most
Hello,
part. Yeah. So,
still is.
like, when you were met with those challenges, was it? That's what I wanted to say. Was it from people there? Was it because of the fact that you really had to grow up? You know, like the responsibilities change. Like, what was it? Like, what were some of those challenges that you faced when you were there? Or I'm
Uh,
sorry, when you first moved there, because clearly you're still there. But when you first
yeah.
moved there, what were some of the challenges you faced?
um, yeah, I definitely could say identity challenges. You know, thinking you know who you are, but you really don't. That was my main thing. Like I was still. I think I had an open door policy at that point where I could say I was gay. You know, but then it was still a lot of people who did have an issue with you being openly gay, and that was just certain groups of people. It wasn't the whole entire tri-state of New York, but that was something I faced, and I still had to cope with that challenge of knowing that people still aren't going to like feel that if they're not aware of your lifestyle. That's just life, you know. But when I was 18, I didn't. I wanted everyone to love what I loved, and if you didn't, I felt a certain type of way about myself, you know.
Mm,
So that was the main challenge. But then, of course, financial, the money, the hustle. I loved New York for that because I always had the drive and I always knew how to make money and stay afloat. But New York was like incredibly challenging because it's so much more cost of living to live here. Um, Even McDonald's is double the price compared to the South. You know, like I can't go get a combo meal for $6. I gotta pay 12 or 11 or whatever here.
wow. Yeah.
Everything's a little bit. It's just like double trouble. You know,
Mm,
and that was something that I had to wake up and realize. But other than that, it was the best. This is the best decision I've ever made for my personal life.
hmm
because I am living my life the way I want. I'm free, and it's respect from people. Like, I don't have any problems. I have love mostly given to me, and
Hmm.
it's because I know who I am now. But when I
Right.
first got here, it was like, I had to figure that all out.
Hmm. Now,
you know.
where like you said, you get love given to you. Of course, not everybody's going to love anybody, the fully and wholehearted. Like everybody you run into, it's not going to have the same level of compassion and open arm policy, or like you said, the open door policy for you.
Mhm.
So when you came across those particular people who were just, not accepting, weren't as open armed as you would have liked for them to be, did you take that as a personal attack? Like, did it hit you inside? Like, how did
Mm.
you deal with that? How did you come, handle those types of situations?
Honestly, I'm extremely sensitive, and till this
Mm-hmm.
day, I'm strong, but I'm still sensitive. So I'm very
Mm-hmm.
much a sensitive person. So I of course, I took it extremely personally back then. I was a long time coming to where I am now, but I was more so hurt, I guess, and my expectations then were extremely high for acceptance, because I accept everybody for who they are as long as you're not hurting anyone. So when people didn't accept like the things I loved, or the individuals that I gravitated towards, and obviously I would feel hurt, and like it kind of did damage to me internally
Mm-hmm.
when in the beginning,
Yeah.
in the beginning for sure.
Yeah. Now, what was your? And I'm gonna go back to when we were kids.
Mm.
Growing up in the house, I remember stupid times we played in the stove. Like we did everything. Growing up in the South, there was nothing you couldn't do. Yeah.
I did
But
everything.
so how, as a kid, I know, like you said, you were afraid and you didn't let that come out. Like to the fullest of the extent of who you felt like you were inside. Like how I don't know how to say it correctly. Like, how are you able to internalize that? How are you able to keep that in? Like, how did it make you feel first and foremost? And secondly, you know, how are you able to deal with that? Like, did that have like deep, long lasting scars that you had to heal from as you became an adult when you were able to fully be yourself? Like,
Mm.
how did that process, how did that work?
I'm glad you asked me that. I didn't think. Well, I'm trying to answer this right.
No,
Because
answer it as you, man. Like,
yeah,
what I'm
I'm
saying?
trying to
Yeah.
word it right, because I
Okay.
have this. When you have like your best kept secret, like, and you know what it is, but it's your best kept secret, and it's something
Yeah.
that like you cherish, and you actually is sacred to you, and
Hmm.
you know who you are, and like, but you know that the world is not going to like understand it. Like, for some reason, I was very mature with my thoughts, like this, and I knew who I was ever since I was born. Like, that's why I say people can sit up here and fight about saying it's a choice and blah blah blah. But like for me, I knew who I was. Like ever since I was one or two, you know, our parents know, our aunties know, everybody
Yeah.
knows I knew who I was. Like
Yeah. We all knew. Like
I
you.
always felt like a
Yeah.
girl. Like,
Yeah.
truth to that. But
Hmm.
it was always, once I noticed that my uncles and some of my like more alpha male cousins, I ain't gonna put y'all on blast, but some of them, they would challenge me, and they would challenge like, oh, you're not hard, you're this, you're that, you're the other. So you feel like, okay, I can't be who I am because this is gonna be an issue. And it started at home,
Hmm.
so going out into the world, most definitely not. Like I would never like tell anybody how I really felt, because it was just like my secret. But I just now I feel great, because going through all of the muck that I went through, and like identity related things, and like the men that I was, believe it or not, my whole childhood I was like kind of like jaded, and I was scared of masculine energy. I didn't want to be around men because I was so used to being challenged, and like, you're this, you're a sissy, you're that, or whatever. And you couldn't be who you wanted to be and celebrate it because it was wrong, quote unquote, to society. But now I'm just so proud of myself, because I respect masculine energy. I have men shook now because they know that I know who I am and I don't care. Back then, I would never. because I was intimidated. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that I was weak because that's what I was told
Mm-hmm.
because I chose this lifestyle or whatever. So I'm just proud now that I'm assured of who I am and like I'm gonna do what I want, and it's helped my creativity, it's helped my growth, and I'm able to have those opportunities that I had did not have a chance to have before. You know, so.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is awesome. I love that. I love
Mhm.
that. One thing I want to, I'm trying to pull it up real quick here. There's a quote that I had come across. Well, every time I get a good quote, I come across a good quote, I'll save it because it helps with self development. But it says, "Life gives you your greatest gifts disguised as your worst nightmare."
Mm.
And I can relate that quote to you as you were talking about, you know, how it made you who you are. Like everything that you had to deal with, everything that you kind of went through growing up as a kid, the bullying from us. I'll take accountability for a lot of that,
You are
you know.
not that bad. You are that bad. You know, I got my uncle Tony, believe it or not,
Oh God.
when
Oh
I was
God.
a child.
Look, Tony used to beat us up. And we were afraid of him. Like you
You
want to talk
know.
about the manliest of men, Uncle Tony. I remember, and I'm gonna go back to my point here in a second, but I remember, and it's weird how you can remember certain things as a very, very little kid. But I
Mhm.
remember he used to pick us up from daycare before you were in school or in daycare, and he'd make us sit in the front seat. Me and my brother Cedric. He make us both sit in the front seat, right beside him, and he asked us. And I don't know why I remember this, but I do. And he'll be like, "What'd you guys do today?" And if we didn't say anything, he would punch us in our legs while he was
Yeah,
driving. Yeah,
you're right. It was weird. It was like
yeah.
to see how much you could take or something. Like other
Hmm.
because you would stand the punches. You know, it was
Yeah,
kind of.
it was the weirdest thing. We used to hate it, like me and Cedric. We couldn't cry because if we cried, he'd make it even worse. You know?
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
yeah. And it's just weird that certain things. I remember again. Not putting Uncle Tony on blast, love him. He
Oh,
was
we love
definitely like
you.
a father figure. Yeah, yeah. It just when you talk about that masculine energy, oh my gosh, man. Like there were certain things that, and it was during the times, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
during those times, you know, that's the way it was. That's the way, you raise the boys, girls are raised a certain way. That's just kind of the way, things were.
Mhm.
But man, when you brought that up, I was like, oh my God, Uncle Tony. Jesus. But anyway, going back to going back to my point, um, is it's you know, um, I want to make sure I say it now. Now I'm kind of filtering myself and make sure I say this the right way, but I don't regret. And I've had some really really horrific things happen in my life, but it's made me who I am today. Everything that has happened to me yesterday kind of paved the way for where I am and who I am today.
Mm.
So we all have to have those challenges. We all have to have those obstacles in order to grow, in order to become that strong person, in order to really kind of form into, who we really are. Like for you know, because of the fact that you had to, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but based off of what you're telling me, kind of what I know with us growing up, because of the fact that you had to internalize certain things, you couldn't really, openly display who you felt like you really were. It got you to the point to where, when you finally were able to get in an environment where you could be your full self, you went all out. Like
Oh
it
yeah.
gave you even more motivation because of the fact that you knew what it was like to be caged in.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, yeah, and like I said, I want to make sure I say that the right way because I don't want to make it seem as if I'm advocating for mistreatment of an individual based on certain things they choose to do, but at the same time, it's through adversity that we find strength. you know
Exactly.
yeah, it's kind of like building the muscle. If you don't go to the gym and push yourself, you're not going to become stronger. you know
Yeah.
and one thing I can say is that from a mental standpoint, you're one of the strongest people I know.
Wow. Because
Yeah.
I really appreciate you saying that, man. Because like I I uh I agree. Like the things that I've been able to like, I don't even know. I just agree with you, and I really appreciate you seeing
Mhm.
that because you know what I've been through.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we both like,
Yeah,
I
you too.
remember about I remember when you had your car accident, that was bad,
I
like we didn't know you was gonna make it.
remember, and that's the scariest part, waking up
Mhm.
and not knowing what happened. You know.
Mhm. Yeah, see, we both going through it. Like I had my motorcycle accident. We
Mhm.
both going through things physically and mentally that has, made us into the amazing people that we are. Now, shifting gears a little bit. Again, don't want to continue to put the family out there because we have an amazing family. We have a great family.
Yeah, we
You
do.
know,
I want us to
yeah.
get together more. We need some damn barbecues again and like
You
some
know,
hey,
I remember
just
a few family reunions. We haven't had those in a long time, but
we're
so
gonna get it popping now that you said it. Watch.
yeah,
Now that you said it's gonna happen.
it's definitely gonna happen. See, that's how it works. You put it
Mhm.
out there, you call everybody out, and then they make things happen. So that's a good situation there. But let's switch over for a little bit. Let's talk about the things that you've encountered in your career. Let's talk about because you're in the fashion. And I think being in New York is definitely like the mecca of the fashion world, and from what I understand it to be. So,
Mhm.
how has that? And I want to say something too. I want to add something else on top of that. Is that we know that in the fashion industry, you know,
Mhm.
it to me is it's extremely gay friendly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So how has that helped in regards to you kind of getting involved in fashion and things like that? Like, speak on that for a little bit.
Yeah, I really appreciate the fashion experience that I've had. I think that was going back to my sexual orientation and
Hmm.
being able to fade into fashion when I first moved here was a safe net for me. It was a safe place because I felt like also I had the support from you guys, my family, my friends. I would be in high school making clothes. That was always what I loved to do. I would always love fashion, selling it, hustling that. So it felt like it was the safest place for me to be at that time. So when I first moved here, it was very much an open door for me to be who I really wanted to be within fashion. But going through those fashion design, fashion styling, then going into modeling, then going into what else did I do? I would say I would sell those clothes, of course, hustling in different venues and just setting up pop up shops and stuff. I did also notice that it was, I'm trying to say this the right way, but it was more so, it was harder than I thought,
Mm.
I guess I could say. But I'm very good at it, which was great. But it wasn't as enjoyable after about 5 or 6 years of being in the industry because I saw a lot more
Hmm.
of the politics of it all, which is a lot of industries. Like any industry, it is politics, but in fashion, of course, it's one day you're hot, one day you're not, and then the next week you're hot again, or the next week you're not. It wasn't just based off of your talent; it was
Hmm.
also politics. So
Mhm.
that's I love that experience in New York, but I didn't understand it when I was in it. Like I was
Mm.
like, why can't I just make it? I'm talented. I know I love what I do. I love fashion. It makes me wake up every day. Boom, boom, boom. But it was not just your talent, but it was also the politics on the side too. So
So
that
kind of like a kind of
was
like a who type situation. Like you had to be networked
oh
with certain people. Really?
I think that helps a lot. It doesn't hurt anything
Hmm.
if you know the right people and you're talented.
Mm.
Bam, it's definitely a faster acceleration to the top. But if you don't, then it comes off a lot of different ways. And I noticed that I was always independent with my vision in fashion and what I wanted to do as a fashion stylist and a designer. And I think sometimes either people are gonna take you in and say, "This is amazing, you're great," or they're gonna like step away from it and say, "Oh, you think you're better than," or maybe she's a little too like standoffish and up her own ass or whatever.
Mm.
She thinks she all that, so we ain't gonna we gonna let her do it on her own or whatever. Because I never could have a team to save my life. Like I would try to bring people into my world as far as helping me, but it turned into like a whole ego thing, and that's what fashion and entertainment kind of turns into at some point.
Mm.
It comes down to the ego, and it comes down to like the politics most times.
Mm. Well,
So,
don't you kinda gotta have a strong personality in that?
oh,
Because you gotta be a leader,
yeah,
like, you can't
yeah,
just yeah, you can't just fold to everybody. I mean, that's in like you said,
uh-uh,
that's in every industry,
mhm,
If you're coming in with the whole, followers mentality, they're gonna eat you alive. You
yeah,
kinda gotta have a bit of an ego,
yeah,
and like, "Look, I know my shit is raw, I
mm,
know this is gonna pop,"
mhm,
and at the same time, I guess you do kinda gotta know the right people, but, you know,
mhm,
that's
mhm.
interesting, that's interesting. So
Yeah, it's like high school, and I
really?
that's what I didn't really. I thought that just like my talent, or like what
Mhm,
I produce. That's what I would say. What I produce. I thought what I produced would be enough. Um, but luckily, I can't complain because I've had so many opportunities, and I've done so much in fashion. I just don't talk about it or show it that much, but I've done so much, and I thank God for it. But now in my life, I'm not even like I put fashion on my back, but I don't like design clothes anymore. Like
uh,
I
mhm,
model every now and then because I know where I'm at in my life now. It's
mhm.
just I've done like I said so much. So
Now,
it's
I
just
gotta ask you, I gotta ask you.
uh-huh.
I hope you knew this was coming, but I gotta ask you.
Uh-oh.
At one point, I used to, because you was putting it on your social media pages. What was with like
Mm.
the nude stuff? Like,
Oh,
yeah,
yay, I'm fast. Okay, so let's talk about it. So, okay, first off, you talking about the performance or you talking about
it,
the modeling?
it was like the
Two.
performances. Like from what like you
Oh,
were
okay.
posting like some of the performances. I'm like my cousin got his ass up there naked.
Yes, but booty naked, like literally like nothing. Um, so it makes me laugh because I swear my mom, oh my God, I would never forget. I think she got a chance to see the first nude project I had, which was with Smug magazine, which was the Norwegian magazine, and I had modeled for them, and I got booked, and I didn't think that I got to the set. I didn't know they didn't tell me I was going to be modeling nude. We didn't plan for it to happen that way, but for some reason I got balls that day. I was like, they were like, do you mind if you like do it nude? And this is the concept. And I'm like, you know what? I've never done that, but let's do it because it's gonna be in a magazine and this is like fucking timeless and it's in Norway. I might as well do it. Like no one's gonna fucking see it. Like I didn't think it would be like an
Mhm,
important thing.
mhm.
Of course, it was a damn exhibit in Norway, like where it was like I'm full out on the damn wall naked. And I wasn't there, but like the photographer showed me like a video, and I'm like, oh shit! Like, and then I got copies of the magazine, and I'm like, oh god, I gotta call my mom, and
Uh,
like I gotta break the news to her because I was like, I gotta tell her first, like I gotta show her first, and she lost her mind. But then at the same time, she was so thankful for it because she knew it was something that I
mhm,
loved and it was art. So that was the
mhm.
first one. But then the second one in 2 years ago, sorry. Um, that was a really symbolic performance for me because it was a performance related project, and it was just my solo lip sync performance to a song by Madonna. Thank you, Madonna, I love you. Ray of Light. It wasn't Ray of Light, I'm sorry, it was Candy Perfume Girl from the Ray of Light album. But basically that was a statement for me to rebel but also tell a story of being a boy, or excuse me, appearing to be a girl first,
Mhm.
and then throughout the performance I'm unveiling that I'm a boy at the same time. I feel like I'm stuck in both some days. So that whole performance was me revealing my body and showing you this is what you see me as a woman, you see me as feminine, you see this all about me, but underneath it all, I'm a man. And like, so it was really, really like a cool statement I was making.
Mhm.
And it was bizarre to a lot of people, and it was definitely like whoa. But that's one thing I never liked my body as a teenager or even as a mature adult. I never liked it until I'll say like 6 years ago. So I thought I was
Really?
skinny, thought I was like disgusting looking without clothes on. So once I started to get confidence and like I started to become an exhibitionist in a way,
Mm.
I was like, I'm gonna show this because this is supposed to be shown. Like celebrate every part of your body and show that shit. If you want to, because I think it was a big deal. So, but
Mm.
it was a statement. I'm just happy. Like, it's more to come. So that's just
No,
like
I love that. When I tell you I love that, because like I said, when I first saw it. it blew me off. I was like, holy shit! Like, I hope my mom doesn't see this. I wonder what Auntie Lisa said about this.
They probably get on my black ass like who in the what in the how in the who in the when. And I love that you liked it because I didn't think of any. That's one thing I want you to know too. I didn't do that to get a reaction
Mhm,
at all,
mhm.
and I didn't think anything of it. But it was just weird to see like I got a lot of love from it, and it really made me like really emotional because I was like somebody they understand what I'm saying,
Mhm.
you know, and that means the world to me. So I really thank you for saying that too as well
That's
because
dope,
I didn't
man.
think about my family seeing it, but woo,
Right.
the whole damn family, the whole world saw it.
Like literally everybody saw it, but
Mhm.
yeah, and it didn't create a buzz. My mom didn't call me like, "Did you see Romano did?" Like, no, we didn't. There was no situation. VJ didn't call. It
Mm.
wasn't a family meeting.
Oh my God, BJ, my grandmother. I
Yes.
mean, oh my God. I mean, I just know how they would, I ain't gonna say, I ain't gonna say that. Yeah. Thank God
No,
she didn't call you.
right. Like it was good. It was good, and like I said, I love who you've become. Because yes, growing up, you were kind of in a shell. You know what I'm saying? And it was kind of like night and day. Like once you moved to New York, we started to see the real you. It's like, holy shit, I didn't know Romano was this. Was this awesome? I can just say
Thank
it that way. Yeah,
you.
like you've done so much stuff, so much good stuff, so much great stuff, and you continue to do so much great stuff. And it was like, man. And I will say that a lot of people who close to me, like in my circle, and even people who see it like on my social media, I am silently, or I say quietly, like that alpha male type. You know what I'm saying? So there was a lot of things in regards to um that particular lifestyle. Not
Oh,
you personally, because of course, we all grew up together. I loved you since day
yeah,
one.
yeah.
But there were certain things about the gay lifestyle that I just didn't agree with.
Mhm,
And I think it was more of a not understanding it. Because a lot of people would basically generally, like, as with a lot of things, they would just make excuses for it. You know,
mhm,
and certain things, it's like, if that's who you are, that's great, that's who you are. I'm going to celebrate you. I would never try to take your voice away from you.
mhm.
But I had an issue with the way that it was kind of being, I guess I want to say, being promoted, being
Mhm.
pushed. Like it was almost if they were trying to force it on um mainly the kids. So I would always took issue with that. And of course, I would get attacked for it on social media.
Mhm.
But it wasn't in a situation, and maybe I'm trying to explain it away, but I'm really just trying to uh, get to where I'm showing that I understand. I can relate, because clearly, you know I have someone extremely close to me who's in that lifestyle.
Mhm.
But at the same time, I can have a disagreement, but there's no love lost. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's not that I hate, there's no hate, there's no anger, there's nothing related to that at all. It's more of
Mhm.
a, you know, let's let's kind of like, and I'm trying to say it right, but you know how, like, we talked
Ain't no
about.
way to say right say it because I'm
Yeah,
here.
well, it's kind of like
I'm
it's kind
here.
of like, how, like, we were raised to be, the alpha male. We're gonna play football, we're gonna play basketball. Like, I played basketball, my brothers played football. We were raised as boys. We played with, the GI Joes, for cliche purposes. And it was in a way that I felt like, I didn't want it to be a 180, to where now we're pushing kids to be raised in a more, I guess the opposite of that. Like, where they're, talking about removing the gender roles and things like that. It's like, to a certain degree, everything is okay. There's
Mhm.
nothing wrong with teaching boys to be masculine, just like there's nothing wrong with teaching boys to be a little bit more in touch with their emotional side. There's nothing
Mhm.
wrong with that. And I felt like it had gotten to the point to where people were, um, and I think it was. I think for the most part, it's done with genuine intentions. I
Hmm.
think it's to the point to where they were so um they were trying so hard to remove that whole "you better be a boy, you got to be a man," because as well as we talked about, that can be damaging, to certain kids depending on how you do it, to where they kind of completely took away the masculine side of things, and now it's more of a get more in touch with your feminine side. It's like they're forcing that, and it's like, wait a minute now, let's not go from an extreme right to an extreme left. Let's look at some of the the opportunities. Because I don't like to say things that were wrong, but let's look at some of the opportunities that came from being extreme right. And let's look at some of the opportunities that come from being extreme left, and let's grab all that and put it together in the middle so we can find a common ground. You know,
Right.
yeah, and that's kind of I guess the point that was being missed in me being an alpha male type person, is that I'm not saying that I'm 100% against that lifestyle or anything like that. I don't agree with it, but that has nothing to do with whether or not I'm going to advocate for or against it.
Hmm.
I just feel like once we start putting it into the minds of the kids, that's where we run into an issue. And that's where I ran into an issue, and that's where I would get attacked because I guess I'm very blunt, and things like that don't come out the right way with me. I
Hmm.
just kind of say it. you know
Hmm.
so that's the issue that I had. Now, in regards to some of the things that's being done today, like with a lot of people say there's an agenda being pushed to try to remove the masculinity from the black household, things like that. Now, I can understand it to a certain degree. Like,
Hmm.
where do you stand on that? Like, where do you stand with that? Because of course, and this is why again I wanted to have this conversation with you, because I want to get your perspective on it being on that side. When I say that side, I'm talking about living that lifestyle.
Uh-huh.
Like how would you, um, if you were a parent, you know
Hmm.
where would you find that common ground in regards to teaching your kids acceptance without forcing them into a particular one way or the other? Like
Oh,
how would you do that? How would you do that?
I'm so happy you asking me this because I listened to everything that you just said, and I agree with a
Mhm.
lot of what you said. I um, I will say I've always said what I've learned now in life is that not everybody is gonna like what you do as an adult, and not everyone's gonna like every decision you make. But you can't please everybody, so that's number one.
Mhm.
That's the number one thing as an adult that I can say. But going back to the childhood, and how would I debut like you know choices as a child? Like, would I block that choice that a child chooses to make, like for their sexual identity or what they choose to gravitate towards as a child? I wouldn't, because I think that's something that I suffered from. Like, I knew, like I said, who I was when I was a child. Like, I knew what I wanted to be. And no matter how many men came in my life and told me it was wrong, or
Mhm.
matter how many men told me I was weak or whatever, I still went with what I wanted to do at the end of the day. Like, I'm here, like, I've arrived, and that's it. So I feel like that's the problem. Not a problem. I don't like to say that word, but I think the one thing that parents need to understand is that, first of all, if I bring another individual into this world that has my blood that I produced, I don't care what you choose to do, as long as you're not hurting anyone. I'm
Mhm.
never going to say that you're wrong or that I don't like what sexual preference you chose, because it makes you happy. That's your choice in life. But like you said, if I don't agree, I don't agree. And that's my choice to make as well. But
Mhm.
at the end of the day, I would want children to know that you have to, first of all, they're adolescents. So as a child, you change,
Yeah.
you grow,
Yeah.
you experience this, you experience that. You might think you're gay one day, you might think you're bi the next, like who knows? But you're a child, so you're filling yourself out and you're growing into who you are. But if
Mhm.
you feel like you can't be free and you have to hide something like I had to,
Yeah.
it's just a delay in you being who you really are.
Mhm.
you know. And I don't know how like I said, it wasn't a choice for me. It was just naturally who I was. Like when I was 6 years old, I had, believe it or not, I had my little boyfriends on the side. Nobody knew because they knew, and that was the weirdest thing to me. At 6 years old, I knew other boys that knew that they were gay too, but it
Hmm.
was something that we did not talk about. But when no one was around, we shared those beautiful moments. Like it's just even conversating or being more feminine around each other. No
Mhm.
one knew that, but my mom would catch me doing little things, with people that she never thought that I was into that, but she would catch me a lot, like basically being femme, doing
Mhm.
what I wanted to do in a femme-based state of mind, and that was that. And I didn't think anything was wrong with it. And
Mm.
so it was just, I would just say, like, as adults, I think trying to make children, especially, so like structured, and I guess the way you want them to be,
Mhm.
I think it's just a little unfair. I think being a little bit more open and asking your children, how do you feel? What do you like to do? What makes you happy? That's a little bit more of how I would approach it,
I
because
agree with that.
that welcoming, because
Yeah.
if you don't have that bond with your children, guess what we're gonna do? We're gonna go out to the world and ask some random person that you may think that cares about you, but it really doesn't, and they're gonna guide
Mhm.
you in the wrong direction.
Mhm.
And that's the next option if you can't get it from home. So that's what I would recommend doing.
I like that.
And when
I
my
agree with
kids are
that.
here, you're gonna see. I'm gonna have kids. I've seen it in the future, by the way. But
Mhm.
my kids are gonna be the bomb. That's all I gotta say. They're gonna be super, super, super bomb, male and female. Okay.
Fabulous. I like it. I like
Mhm.
it. And see, I agree with that. Like for me, and I talk to my girlfriend about this a lot. Um, I want to create an environment where my kids can be kids, where they can be free to be, who they are and experience, all the different areas. Of course, um, it's it's going to be a bit of an opportunity for me to, um, not, I guess, nudge if I have a son,
Yeah.
him in the way of me. You know what I'm saying? Like I grew up, I played basketball. Of course, I'm going to want my son to play basketball. Um, I'm big into, you know, nerdy type stuff. I'm big into computers, things like that. So, of course, I'm going to want that. But if it turns out that um, my son is a complete opposite of me. I'm going to, I think I'm at a point now. Back then, in my 20s or whatever, hell no, things were different. But
That's understandable to me. Like that's
yeah,
why I respect you for saying that, because that's the thing that I don't. I respect from people who don't have the same lifestyle as me. I'll say it like that because I
hmm,
like saying that. I always respect, like I say, I respect everybody. Like
yeah,
no matter how masculine you are, no matter how feminine you are, I just respect it, because it may not be my life, but that's what makes you happy, and that's what
right,
So
right,
I get that, going back to like the past and like how you used to think. I get that.
yeah. And, I say this about religions. And I don't want to speak too heavily on religion. As you said in the beginning, we were raised Jehovah's Witness, one of
Mhm.
the most by the book religions you ever encounter. What was this? Bible study on Saturdays, going to
And
the hall
Thursday.
on Sundays, and what was it, Tuesday and Thursdays or something like that? We were at the hall. We spent more time at the hall than we did at school for the most part.
Mhm.
Shout out to Gramps and BJ for that one. But
You're gonna live long. I was gonna say the same thing. Oh my god. Oh my
but
god.
um, I always say that if what it is, and like again, using this for a religious example, if your religion, if your lifestyle, if the way you were raised taught you to be a great person and not to do anyone harm, I'm all for it. At the
Hey,
end of the day, if your lifestyle, if you choose to be gay, if that has turned you into the person to where you love me, you know what I'm saying? I'm all open arms, no questions asked, because clearly it's doing something right,
mhm,
and that's what kind of what I was getting at before when I say we can take, the lessons learned from over here and the lessons learned from over here, and come up with a nice little common ground, and create an amazing society, an amazing group of people, because we have amazing people on all sides. you
Mm-hmm.
know like there's greatness that comes from everything. And that's kind of the way I feel about it. So, yes, I'm going to have strong opinions, keyword there, opinions,
Mm-hmm.
in regards to how I feel about the way certain things are done and handled.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, with all subjects, I critique all subjects. It's not just specific to any one particular thing or any particular group of people. I critique everything. you know so
Mm-hmm.
of course, I'm going to have a strong opinion about something that I don't agree with. But at the end of the day, that doesn't mean I'm going to try to take anything from that person or from those people. And I'm not going to try to do anything to harm or limit them in their progress and what it is they're looking to achieve. So,
I
you
kind
know,
of
I,
agree with that.
I,
Sure.
I see it. Y'all got some crime going on over there. What's going on, man?
Every 5 seconds. Nothing new.
High crime area.
It's
But
like a regular day in the neighborhood.
yeah, I wanted to touch on that, because that's, I'm not gonna say it's a hot topic, but it's definitely something that, that the conversation needs to be had amongst all families. Because we
Yeah,
have those extremes, and we have those ones that are, you know if I had a choice, I would want my son, my daughter to, go a certain way. But
mhm,
that's the beautiful thing about life. That's the beautiful thing about individuals. I don't get
mhm,
to choose your destiny. I don't get to choose your outcome. you
mhm,
know my job is to, one, um produce you, as a child, and then from there, my job is to give you the tools needed for you to be successful as an adult. My job is to lay the foundation. My job is to ensure that I'm instilling the values in you that are going to make you, someone great in society.
mhm.
And then from there, it's on them to make their choices. It's on them to decide, what path they want to go down, because at the end of the day, it's their life. So
Yes.
that's kind of the mindset that I've evolved into as a mature adult now, in
Mhm,
regards to, how I interact with anybody. My girlfriend just told me this, and I know it for a fact.
mhm.
I am. She calls me a bossy. That's what it is. That's the
Oh.
word. She calls me bossy. I look at it in more so of, I have a leader's mentality.
Uh-huh.
You know, um, and I analyze a lot of things. She
Yo,
just put
I
it.
remember
She
as a
just put
child,
the
you
chat
were
bossy.
the boss. You were always the boss. Like I would definitely say that. Like as a child, like, I would be like, "Oh, look up to Mario," because you always had. You would tell us how to do it. Like you would just like kind of show us or tell us, but we knew like literally like you were like the big brother to me for sure. Like when I would be around like your family, intermediate, of course.
Mhm.
uh, it was always cool to see that, and I respected that so much because you always had it in my eyes together,
Mm.
and it was like we followed from that point because we all like had our our big bros and our big sisters in our family,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
were one of them. So I'm just saying that she's right. She's
I,
right.
I tell her that's just, I don't know if it's because I'm the firstborn into the family, like I'm the oldest cousin, I'm the oldest grandchild. I don't know if that is. Yeah, like it was me, then Red, then Cedric, and then I think it was either you, then Mark. Um, I don't. Once it goes so far down the line, I don't remember, but I know I'm the oldest. But
Yeah, I
I
think
just
Ladell
say,
was after me.
okay.
Ladell, I love my cousin,
Mm,
for sure. But I think yeah, me and Ladell were like that, like this close, like 2 months apart. I think in a
mhm,
year.
okay.
Yeah, so yeah, somewhere we have like so we have
But
so many
I,
cousins, y'all.
if I say, but for me, I feel like that's my purpose. I have a leader's mentality, so I've become a lot more aware of the fact that I can be bossy, um, and I'm working towards not being as bossy, but still letting it be known that this is how I feel about certain things. I think that's the best way to say it. Is that I'm doing my best to not be as aggressive with in my personality, with my opinions on things outside of running my businesses, of course, because that's where I need to be the leader. But in regards to how I interact with individuals and how the impression that I leave on people, I don't want my legacy to be known as he was bossy. you
You
know,
know, I never, I don't know why I never saw you as like bossy in a bad way. I never
Hmm.
saw it like that. You know,
I guess,
I never did.
I guess it depends on who you ask, but I,
Yeah, who are you around? Who's around you the most, right? Who's around,
right.
right?
Right. But I say all that to say that, I hope that if I am blessed with the opportunity to be a parent, if I am blessed with the opportunity for me and my girlfriend to have kids, that, I'm not overly assertive in my views, that I'm not overly aggressive to the point to where they feel as though they have to hide who they may really be from me. I don't want it to ever come to that, because like you said, when you feel like you can't really be open up and be who you are in your own house, that's when you start looking outside of your house. And that's where trouble comes into play. So I really don't want to get into that type of situation. I pray that, I have the most open of minds as I continue to become older and become more wiser and more understanding that, you know, yes, the world is seen through my eyes, but only by me. I have to understand that, I don't, my eyes don't work for everyone, that everyone sees the world, even though we're looking at the exact same thing, we're interpreting it in much different ways. So,
Mhm.
that's what, like I said, that's why I really wanted to, have that conversation with you, connect with you, because I wanted to see the world and I wanted to get an understanding of how you see the world. I want to know what it's like to see the world through your eyes. You know, yes, we're both, I'm gonna say fortunately, um, and no offense to anyone else, but we're black. We've been blessed with the yeah, we've been black with that blessed with that greatness. But
Yes,
and
we are.
again, that's no offense to anyone else, but we already have, due to the flaws in current society,
Mhm,
we have things that aren't going to always be in our favor because of that reason. So
mhm,
to add on the fact that you have a live an alternative lifestyle, it's
mhm,
like, hey, you know that's a struggle. Like
mhm.
I know, who is it? Was it Malcolm X or one of the noted activists, black activists from back in our day, back in our time, said like to be black and aware in
Oh
this
yeah.
in this
Ooh,
country is to be constantly angry.
oh
You
yeah.
know, yeah. So
Yeah.
imagine you take that and then add on the fact that you also live a lifestyle that's just now coming around to being accepted.
And
You know what
and
I'm saying?
honestly, if we talk about that. I mean, not talk about it. I'm just gonna say one thing.
Mhm.
It may seem like everything is accepted, but it's still the same problem. So it
Really?
is not. Yeah, like it's not. Luckily, my middle finger is up in the air. Like any chance I get, like I don't care. Like I'm that's where I'm at with my life,
Mhm.
with love, of course. But it's still those issues behind the curtain, and that's just how I think the world turns. Um, it may seem one way, but what's the is someone wayward witches blog is what I watch. It's like a influential vlogger that I watch, but she says it is what it ain't and it ain't what it is. I can't remember how it is. It ain't what it is and it just ain't, but something like that. It is what it is, but it ain't what it ain't, or I can't remember. I'll figure it out one day. I'll put it on my paper. But basically, what you think it
Mhm.
is what it really isn't. You
Okay.
know. So what they present to you may seem like, yeah, we're all about kumbaya energy and boom boom boom, we accept you, but really when the lights are off, it's a completely different situation. It's still the same problem, because
Mhm.
but we're rising. I feel like that, like you said, it's a little bit more awareness to alternative lifestyles,
Mhm.
but it's still adversity there. But that's why you have to know who you are, stay true to who you are, love what you do, and make sure that you're happy, and that's where I'm at in my life now. And now that's why I'm able to persevere and do what I do. Because I'm doing it with love and understanding and patience. Because that's one thing that I have. That's why I love that you told me how you feel about certain things. Because we as a people, everyone needs to understand you have to love and you have to have patience and you have to understand and have communication. That has to happen in order for us to learn from one another and get there. If you're not, if you're just like, no, I don't fuck with you because you're gay and you I don't understand it, so I don't fuck with you. That's
Mhm.
not gonna help anything. You're just going to go down in the ground with no life experiences and not no understanding. And that's
Right.
why parents exist. So
Mhm.
I just try to be as patient as I can. Like, I have people in my life. A lot of my friends are predominantly straight.
Mm.
A lot of them. I don't have a lot of. I actually have a lot of gay friends too, but it's dwindling now because we're just going different in different directions. But
Mhm.
one thing my friends can say, that's why they love me and they protect me so much, is because I have love for them and I have patience and I hear them out. I might not agree with it,
Mhm.
but we go back and forth. But at the end of the day, we respect the disagreement if that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And that's what we just have to do as a people. And
Mhm.
it's hard. It's not easy all the time,
Yeah.
but
Well, and I love that you said that. I mean, hell,
mm,
that um, I'm gonna rewatch this and go back to that
oh,
moment
I'm
and
not
say that as
rewatching
one
it.
of my quotes. Well, no, I'm saying I'm gonna say that's one of my quotes because that was a great statement that you made.
Uh-huh.
Being happy with yourself. Understanding who you are. Patience. A lot of, and I use this word, a lot of hate stems from ignorance. It stems
Mm,
from a lack of understanding.
mhm,
you know I think it was Einstein, some really smart person said that the more you understand, the better you become. With intelligence comes understanding,
mhm.
and you have less dispute. The like war, like all that stuff kind of goes away the more intelligent you become about particular things. And I think with this one particular topic, when it comes to gay, like you said, I don't fuck with you because you're gay. That's just stupid. That's the if that's not ignorance, I don't know what ignorance is.
Yeah,
And
and
I
it's
think it's
weird
more of
because I haven't had that. Like, speaking on my experiences, I haven't had
Mhm,
that happen in a very damn long time. Like, I have. I'm actually. I guess it's because, I was telling you, I just know where I'm at now, and I
mhm,
I don't. I'm focused on what I'm doing and where I'm going, and I love people. Like, I really do love people. I don't even care if you don't love me. I still love you. Like, it's just
right.
something about me. That's how I've been. But I just love people. So I haven't had that happen to me in a long time. But I have friends that go through those experiences, and I'm just like, dag. And
Yeah.
I protect my friends who go through that. Like, I'll stand up and say something if
Mhm,
I'm there,
mhm.
and that sucks. But an example, not trying to go off on a tangent,
Oh,
but
do you think,
when I
man?
like, oh, thank you. So when I went to Miami, an example, and I've been telling everybody my story. I love Miami. I love the scenery. I love the architecture. I love the beach. I love all of that. But the people, like, it just showed me that they're like, I forgot it was a southern state. Number one, I
Mhm,
forgot that it was like just ignorance still exists. Number two, like, it was so much like just I just couldn't believe that people weren't aware that it's alternative people in the world that exist, and like you have to respect them. Like, it was no respect. It was kind of like almost like I was a fish
oh,
in a
wow.
shark tank. So I was
Mhm,
I was surprised too because I didn't really notice it until like 2 weeks of me being here because I stayed there for a whole month.
mhm,
But as once the third week hit, I was like, oh my God, people were like assaulting me and like calling me like names, like, and I'm like an adult, like, is this real? So I was like, okay, we still got a lot of work to do.
mhm.
So it was just it still exists, but in New York, thank God I'm in New York. I was like running back home because I just love being here. Because it's not like that. In New York,
Mhm.
we are doing what we gotta do,
Right.
and all that people really focus on is the bag and having a good time, of course. And that's that. In my opinion, So it's weird. It still exists in a lot of places in the world, even though we're in 2021. It's still like a lot of ignorance.
Right. Especially when you say Miami. Like when you think Miami,
Whew.
it's at least the image that they give for Miami.
Yeah,
That's
that's what I'm
the
talking.
fashion place. Like you think that's one of the most open places ever because it's so diverse. Well, but I guess to
It's
see, and that's
predominantly
the
Black and Spanish now.
uh
But from what I saw, it was predominantly Black and Spanish, and I didn't see a lot of white people, honestly, to be quite frank.
mm-hmm,
But a lot of tourists, like Spaniards, things of that nature. I saw a lot of that, but even that was like a tug of war. Like,
uh-huh.
I really like, you guys think that like you're bougie because you're from Spain. Like, it was just kind of weird. It was just weird. Like, it was a lot of that, like classism,
uh,
racism, homophobia. It was like just so much going and spinning around in circles. But
mhm.
I literally was like, okay, I got to go back to New York.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that word up. I'm so glad you brought that word up.
Which one?
Homophobia. Okay,
Oh yeah.
now I want to make what I want to say a distinction. That's the word I'm looking for
Mhm.
between what homophobia is and what people run behind claiming to be homophobia. Now,
Mm,
what you're experiencing, if I'm calling you names and like you said, I'm assaulting you and I'm, you know, to me that's hate. You know what I'm saying? I
mhm.
look at that as being homophobic because there's a fear there. There's a true fear there. But people will call, and people have said that I'm homophobic. Wow. But
You're
if
not
you,
okay.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But if you disagree, they throw
Mhm,
around homophobia. If you speak out against something, they throw around homophobia.
mhm.
In that regard, using that same logic, wouldn't that be a phobia for everything? Like people who spoke out against Trump, wouldn't that be Trumpophobia?
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to downplay it or anything. I just want to make a true distinction between, you know, um, like attacking someone
Mhm.
versus just speaking out against something that you don't agree with, in a respectful way, like speaking out against something. And I think that's where I had the issue with everybody. They talk about this whole cancel culture thing. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but
Say that again. It broke up a little bit. What
oh,
you
I
say?
was saying they talk about this whole cancel culture thing, but I don't
Oh.
want to go down that rabbit hole. But if you don't agree, they attack you. They throw everything, they throw the book at you.
Mhm,
But I want to let it be known that what you experienced in your example, that's homophobia. You know what
mhm,
I'm saying?
mhm,
Like that's true hate
mhm,
against the lifestyle that you live or whatnot. You
mhm.
know, and it kind of I'm not gonna say it triggered me, but it definitely touched a sensitive spot with me because I don't like people using words loosely and they don't truly understand the definition of it. So
Mhm,
I love the example that you gave
mhm.
because that's a true example of homophobia.
Yeah, and one thing I respect about you is that and a lot of people, like you said, opinions are opinions, and you can have them. If
Hmm.
you're not supposed to agree with everything, I do not agree with everything, and I'm going to say if I don't, and whether you like it or not, I'm going to stand by that, and that is your choice. Like you said, as long as it's not some like hate, violence, like
Hmm.
abrasive energy, like that's not necessary. If you don't agree, you don't agree. So it's just that simple. But the cancel culture, it's just crazy to me because I feel like people are quick to cancel, but what if they make a mistake and they get
Right.
canceled?
Right.
Then like you want empathy. So
Hmm.
I feel like you have to be careful with that even because like you don't have the right to cancel unless it's, to me, vile, violent, hateful. That's a cancel, clearly.
Hmm.
But disagreeing, you have the right to disagree. You're not supposed to go with the flow with everything. And the world would be a perfect damn place, if it was that easy. But it's just not. And like
Hmm.
you said, respect. First of all, is what I want everyone to hear me say. Whether you disagree or agree, respect every person, and that's what it comes down to. I
Hmm.
respect everybody, even whether I agree with you or not. and that's what we have to focus on. You
Right.
know.
Yeah. Totally agree. Totally agree. Well, look, first of all, I'm gonna say a couple of things. I,
Uh-huh.
I I I just realized that you had a friend's blanket back there behind your draped over
Oh
your
my
couch.
God.
I just realized that. I was like, oh, look at that! And now the theme song is playing in my head. The Friends, totally not
Oh,
related to anything. That was random as hell. But
okay. It's crazy because I have never watched that show really like that much, but I just thought it was a cute blanket, and I was like, let me get it. You
oh
know.
man, I used to, and I hate to say this, but it is what it is. I used to have a crush on Jennifer Aniston, so that's the reason why I used
Oh,
to watch
why would you
Friends.
hate that? Why would you hate that?
Because man, because like my inner Malcolm X is like, what the hell are you doing?
No, I feel you though. I do feel
Yeah,
you. But
yeah,
yeah, hey, she's a bad mother trucker. You
yeah,
know, she's
she
a bad
is.
mother trucker.
Yeah, she is. But
Bad.
there aren't too many episodes I didn't watch of Friends. I actually liked it, you know. But anyway,
Oh,
totally random. That was so random. That was so random.
hey, I'm happy I know. Sure. I'll get you a friend's blanket at some point. Like, look, you know?
Yeah. Well, look, I so thankful that you was able to have this conversation with me. I really enjoyed it. I look forward to future conversations. I'm not going to say I hope we have others because we are going to have others. So I'm looking forward to future conversations.
Yeah,
Um,
cousin, man. And I'm coming, let me not say all that on live, but I'm coming to run up on the family
mhm.
very soon in different states. Wherever I gotta go, I'm gonna do it because I had, like, long story short, I wasn't traveling because I had like a fear of flying or whatever. But
Mm.
this last trip, I just something clicked, and I'm like, I'm ready to fly again. I'm ready to go everywhere I want to go. So we will be seeing each other a lot more, and I'll be hopefully we are gonna do the digital too. Period.
Yeah,
I want to
definitely.
be,
Yeah.
you know, to your movement, and I just really appreciate you asking me to be here to speak
Oh,
on it.
no doubt. No doubt. I mean, I love you, always will, always have. And one thing I want to say is that let people know how to get in contact with you if they want to, reach out to you to collaborate, do some things. Maybe they can pull the fashion back out of you, get you back into the
Oh,
the
it's
fashion
still
thing.
here. I wanted to
Mhm.
tell you and everyone, like, it's still here. I'm just I transitioned into like performing a lot more and incorporating my fashion experience into my own personal performances and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I'm not ever not gonna be a fashion whore. Like, I'm always gonna be into fashion. Period. Like, that's it. So
Mhm.
it ain't going nowhere. I promise. It ain't going nowhere.
All right. Well, let people know how they can reach out to you, like social media. Let people know how to connect with you.
Oh, everyone, if you want to contact me, of course, my main page is at Stacy, and that's sorry, Stacy maybe with two E's, and that's spelled StacyMaybee. That's my personal page, and then my fashion like inspo page where I do sell clothing and accessories is at Shock Vintage, and Shock Vintage has been like alive since I've been alive. So it's stuff there, and my eBay is attached to that. So if anyone wants to support, that's where you go to do that.
All right, that's what's up. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed it. And again, cousin, love you to pieces, love you to life, love you to everything. Can't wait till you come down and we get to, really go out and have some good fun. My girlfriend's anxious to connect with you. So,
I cannot wait because I already know. I already know. She's probably like, "Hey, let's go shop. Let's go hang and stuff." So I will definitely be there for y'all. I promise.
that's what's
Tequila.
up. No,
Okay.
no doubt, no doubt. Well, thanks everybody for joining, and we'll be catching y'all on the next one. You've received this word to be heard. I'm Mario Johnson. That's Shaka, y'all. We out of here, people.